everyone wants everyone to win.
Hmm.
Because in the fiat world, we're fighting for our lives, really. It feels like you're like competing constantly, trying to climb the ladders. You're in a scarce mindset. You're all of those things. And what I've noticed and learned is that Bitcoin has become a place of hope, a place of encouragement, a positive place, and it's just so opposite of what the fiat world
That
is.
is so interesting what you've said. Oh my God. So the fiat world has a scarce mindset, even though the bankster print fiat money out of thin air and they have infinite amounts of fiat. Yet Bitcoiners only there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoins. Yet we're so generous or the Bitcoin world is so hopeful and joyous and has a mind of abundance. You see, it's crazy how the opposites kind of contrast each other. That's an epiphany you just gave me. Holy moly.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Moon with the Lunas podcast. Today's Bitcoin price is 75,200. Today we have Gus with us. We're so excited. Gus found Bitcoin in 2021. He owns a family cleaning business with his wife and mother. He works 3 jobs, which is super impressive,
Yeah.
and believes in the separation of money and state and considers himself a Bitcoin maxi. Gus, we are so happy that you're here. Thanks for taking the time out to meet with us.
Thank you for having me, guys. I love what you're doing. This dynamic is awesome. Like both a male female perspective as a couple, they're just beautiful. You don't see that nowadays. Young couple with a family, beautiful. I love it. I love it.
That's
Yeah.
super cool. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. We
She,
appreciate it.
yeah, she was always like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you learning?
Yeah.
What are you reading? Like, like, come on, let's make a podcast and talk to cool people like us. Like,
Yeah.
let's go."
It's been
Nice.
awesome. It's been so good. It's been great. But yeah, guys, just kind of tell us a little bit about your background, a little bit where you're from, and then kind of how your journey into Bitcoin started.
Yeah, I think it's some fortune too and luck involved because in 2021, my best friend from childhood came over with a couple of friends, and we made a pact or a vow to buy, stocks and bonds. We were just normies back then, and so we downloaded Robinhood. We wanted to retire early, and we started buying that then and there every week, $100 of whatever. I think the S&P 500 we were buying at that time. I don't remember. But of course, a couple days when they left, a couple days later, I'm scrolling through Robinhood and I see this thing that went from like 20,000 to 60,000. I'm like, whoa, what is this? Bitcoin? I've heard of this. And I told my mom, I told some friends, and of course, I am very curious. I have a very curious personality to my fault. I delve into Bitcoin. I fell in love with it. I can't stop thinking about it every day, all day. And it's been 5 years now almost, right? 2026, 2021. Yeah, it's been five
Yeah.
years. And I've even for cleaning business, I've been buying Bitcoin for like a year now. So I'm an EMT. I was full time for 9 years. I went part time to be full time in the cleaning business because my mom and my wife were needing some help. So, and they're 100% on board with me buying Bitcoin for the company. That's all our strategic reserve is Bitcoin.
Hey,
Oh my gosh, I'm like an EMT alone is just a big job, right? Like gosh, and when did you guys start your cleaning business?
We started it. We did it on our own. Like my wife and I did it separately from my mom. When my wife and I first got married, my wife was working for her as a helper, and then I promised my wife, "Hey, honey, let's get our own accounts and get you going." And I used to knock from door to door, and we got her like 3 or 4 accounts, and then blew up to 10, 15 accounts, and then it got too big, and then to the point that my mom was like, Let's just join forces," and we joined 15 of my mom's accounts, 15 our account. We joined 30, and now are scaling things. We have 14 employees. We're very blessed. It's been great, man. I got to tell you, especially with mentorships, people think sometimes it's a scammy with mentorships, but it's great if you have a mentor that you pay. They'll teach you how to do
yeah.
stuff and grow your business.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
We have always valued learning from people who have gone before and have maybe, they have fruit on the tree, right? Of being able to kind of share their experiences because who you surround yourself with is everything, right? It's so important. And just to get another eye perspective, and just say, hey, bounce ideas off of because everyone's doing life for the first time too, right? So everyone's trying to figure out like how do
Yes.
we start a business? How do we, invest? How do we do all these things? And gosh, that's really smart to, get some perspective, outside perspective from that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I also think like, like whoever you're getting your results or your advice from, like make sure they have the results that you want in your life too, right? I think a lot of people just like, oh, like everyone's giving out advice these days, you can just like hop on your phone and get whatever advice. Like
Yeah.
make sure whoever you're getting from actually has the results that you want in your life
Yes.
so that you can go ahead and duplicate and replicate it, and then they can also like show you, hey, don't do this, don't do that, because they've already gone down that path. And so
Yes.
I think that's great. And then I know you mentioned too, guys, so you have 3 jobs. So cleaning business already sounds like a lot.
Yes.
ENT already sounds like a lot. So what's the other job you have?
So in the morning, I clean houses. I wake up at about 7. My wife feeds the baby. We leave the baby with my mom. My wife goes out in the field to check on the girls' jobs and to get the other teams going. I'm the deep clean specialist. I'm a team leader. I go with the girls to clean, do a deep cleaning a week or so, or I'm sorry, deep clean a day or so. And then at 2:30 p.m., I leave the team finishing up the deep clean. I go to Costco every single day, besides Wednesdays and Sundays when I'm at the ambulance service. And then I go to Costco, close the chicken room. If you guys been, of course, you went to Costco yesterday. You said,
Yeah.
Yeah.
pray for me because we're going to Costco
Yeah.
on a Saturday. Dude, it's so true. It is insane over there, man, on
It's true.
Saturday.
Dude.
Guys,
Yeah.
go on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. Trust
Yeah.
me, like in the morning, there's nobody there. But yeah, so I'm there. And then I go on, like I said, Wednesday and Sundays on the ambulance service, and I'm happier. The ambulance service is like you were saying, it's very sad because you meet all these lovely patients that you have, senior citizens that you get so much wisdom from, and
Hmm.
then one day they're not there anymore because hey, where's Carol? She
Yeah.
passed. Oh man, like she was my
No.
buddy. So I was tired of that, sick of it. Now I'm doing like 1 or 2 shifts a week. Sometimes I
Okay.
go a week or two without doing any shifts. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, that's a lot. That's a lot that's going on there. What made you wanna do these 3 jobs? Was it because of Bitcoin? Was it 'cause of,
yes.
what okay.
Definitely, I wanted to stack sats and I didn't have enough. I've always had enough money for, stacking Bitcoin, but not as much.
Hmm.
So, with the 3 jobs, I could make my bills, which is like 2,200 every month. It's cheaper where I live here in Connecticut. And,
Yeah.
I could stack sats, up to like a
Yeah.
thousand every month sometimes,
That's
Wow.
and now with
great.
the business, sometimes we even a couple grand we stack every month with it. We're very fortunate,
Dude.
very grateful.
Dude, that's
Yeah, that's
amazing. So
wonderful.
you're just like hyper focused. You're just like, dude, we gotta stack these at. And I
Yeah.
can't agree with you more because especially like I know you're loving this dip then, to be able to even stack even more to your stack right now with this like almost like a 40%, 50% dip almost. I wanted to ask you, so Gus, so like I know you mentioned like one of the topics I really want to get into today is like getting to 1 Bitcoin, right? I know that it's like this milestone that everyone talks about in the Bitcoin ethos, and I just wanted to ask you, before we get into that, like, I know you mentioned you're a Bitcoin maxi. So what is considered like a Bitcoin maxi? Like what is that? Like talk to me on this.
Well,
Like what would you consider
Bitcoin
someone with a Bitcoin maxi?
in my opinion, a Bitcoin maximum. So I used to be a crypto guy, and everybody has their journey, right? It was as soon as you found Bitcoin, you're like, there's a what you call it, a bias that you can't really have a Bitcoin. It's a stupid bias. You could definitely buy Bitcoin. It's just harder to get there. But then you see like all these crypto tokens, and I don't want to say their names. And then you're like, oh, I can buy one of those. I can buy 10 of these. And so you start buying these things that you don't even know what is. So the Bitcoin it's the only asset with immaculate conception, meaning Satoshi created a way, gave it away, and walked away. Satoshi gave a gift to the world. No one knows who he is, just like fire and the wheel. We don't know who invented it, but we use it. Humanity uses it every single day of our lives. And so Bitcoin maximalists believe in the Bitcoin only. And if you go back in time and you see the progression of things, Bitcoin is the best performing asset in the history of humanity. And it's not even close. The second one being Ethereum, Vitalik was working on Bitcoin when it first came out, and he wanted to do his own thing. But the problem is that they make these IPOs or initial coin offerings, an investment of money in a common enterprise derived from the efforts of others. With expectation of profits, that's a security. They call it stock. You can buy Coke stock or Johnson & Johnson stock. Ethereum, the people that founded it, they keep dumping Ethereum on top of the poor investors' head. And this is what Bitcoiners are shouting from mountaintops: stop buying their crypto. Same thing with XRP. What's his name? Brad Garlinghouse keeps just dumping tens of millions of dollars at a time of XRP. And people are just like, yes, yes, give me the XRP. And
Like,
Satoshi never sold one sat. No way, man. I love that. what Satoshi has like 1.1 million Bitcoins, never touched it, never moved it, and he's never selling it. I'm sure he lost his keys by at this point if he didn't pass away, rest in peace. Whoever he is, wherever he is. So that's the idea of Bitcoin maximalism, that only Bitcoin had the immaculate conception. And Bitcoin is the only way to separate money and state. Why? Because of its decentralization. There's the blockchain trilemma. I'm sure you guys know. You know,
Mhm.
Bitcoin prioritizes decentralization, meaning that there are hundreds of thousands of distributed ledger nodes worldwide. So it's like a giant game of whack-a-mole. It's impossible to stop Bitcoin. So this is why I'm a Bitcoin only maximalist, because my main goal and purpose, I mean, you come for the number go up and you stay for the revolution and the separation of money and state.
Mhm.
The main goal is to separate money and state, to free humanity from the bankster cartels. Our president, back in 1950s or 60s, I'm so sorry, or 40s. I apologize, guys. I don't remember, but
You're
he
good.
said the main problem is the military-industrial complex, right? And we
Mhm.
can see it, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and there's like dozens of different companies that they are the
Yeah.
ones putting the Congress people in power to make sure we
Yes.
stay in these eternal wars and these meat grinder of human beings, while blaming people who don't actually have the culpability. And so Bitcoin is just yanking the money from the state peacefully and giving it back to the people, to the free
Mhm.
market, because monetary tool is just a tool of the free market. It has always existed. It comes from our biological yearn to trade.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's really good because also too is like people forget it's so easy. They turn on the TV and they're like, "Oh, vote for this guy, vote for that guy." Like it doesn't even matter because the money's broken. Like the foundation is so broken. So whatever promises that they like promise you to get into like office, like once they get in, the real agenda, the real people, the military industrial complex, the financial industrial complex, the technology industrial complex, all these people are going to be like, "Oh, hey, great job. Well, you're gonna have to do this now." Like, they don't understand, and people don't understand this because this is way above their head, right? But once you go down the rabbit hole, like you're sharing, like this is where like you get into the weeds, right? And when you get in the weeds, once you see it, you can't unsee it,
Yeah.
right? And so it's so good. Um,
I'm curious on your like a couple's perspective here. Is your wife as much of a Bitcoin maxi
yeah.
as you are?
She is not. She is a Christ maxi. I married her because of her deep love for Christ, and I'm so glad that you guys go to church, and I bless you guys. That's awesome. That's the main purpose. She's the one who does the praying. I do a lot of the Bible reading. She's the one who goes to church 4 times a week. When I'm working, she takes the girls to church and make sure that they're
Oh,
praying
nice.
and being involved with the community. Yeah.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's awesome. And so when you obviously you explored this, and you were deep diving into this, was she like, I just trust you? Like this is, you got this. I'm you're leading our family?
Yeah, I
Okay.
try to get her close to Bitcoin to see if she will develop this love I have for Bitcoin, and she's like, "Nah, I trust you." I'm like, "Honey, don't trust. You have to verify. Look, this is our
yeah.
seed. This is our Bitcoin." And she
Yeah.
comes from Guatemala, and so when I showed her how much we had in terms of quetzales, that's their money in Guatemala, she's like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
you pretty much made it, but it's because of Bitcoin, Christ and Bitcoin."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, I like to get that perspective because obviously we kind of had a similar journey of me, kind of hopping on the bandwagon later, and so I always like to hear a different perspective of maybe how couples have navigated it too. And it's great because I feel like I kind of did the same thing. I was like, yeah, I trust you, it just wasn't in my bandwidth at the moment to be able to really dive in. And then I was like, you know what, I should really probably understand this a little bit more. I will say I'm still learning a lot of the lingo and even, I re-listen to our own podcast with our guests too, just to really understand some of the terminology. So
Yeah.
it's just really fun. It's cool to hear that perspective.
Yeah. The
Nice.
and then also kind of getting on top of like going back to the one Bitcoin, like owning one Bitcoin. So like does owning one Bitcoin actually even matter, Gus?
Oh, yeah, dude, it feels so good. I remember back in 2022 when I made to 0.39 Bitcoin, and Ledger Nano had I used to use that crypto before, but Ledger Nano had a bug. It was like a software-wide bug where people were seeing less Bitcoin they had. So I remember being at 0.39, and then it came down to 0.18, and then I'm like
What?
flipping out. Yeah,
My
it was just
goodness.
a bug in the user interface. So I call them, they're like, "I'm so sorry, this is a bug." That's why it comes back to, I wanna say to people that Bitcoin is an open source protocol, meaning the code is free and transparent for all eyes in earth to see. There's no backdoors, there's no CIA waiting
Yeah.
there to everything is open for every eye to audit, sorry.
Yeah.
Ledger is not. Ledger Nano, I gave it away to my friend because it's a closed source code. We don't know if
Yeah.
there's a backdoor, and they said they could make a backdoor. Were you around in 2023 when they said they could do a backdoor and everybody just
Yeah.
ganged up on them?
Yeah, no, I totally remember that. Like, I think whenever it comes to like self-custody, right, super important.
Yeah.
There's Trezor, there's all these different like, these different instruments for self-custody, right? Cold Card, Q, and all of these different ones. Like, one of our earlier guests that we had on here, his name's Sean. He had like the best thing. He's like, it's personal finance. So do whatever like works for you. It's personal, right? But then when you go down the rabbit hole, you do this research and you see these hacks. It's like, okay, time to pivot, right? You have to be able to pivot when things go wrong. And
Yeah.
why does only one Bitcoin matter?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so then I remember making it to half a Bitcoin. I'm like, oh my God. So the feeling you get is like euphoric. It's like
Yes.
it feels like the joy you have. And then
Yeah.
I was getting to point 0.8, point 0.9. I was still full time at the ambulance service. And then I remember just buying that last million Satoshis back in 2024 and sending it to cold storage. I'm like, guys, I made it. And then everyone's like clapping. I got like, I think I almost had 1 million views for that post and tweet because Bitcoin
Wow.
maximalists, they want you to succeed. That's the beauty of the Bitcoin
Yeah.
maximalist world. We want you to succeed. We'd like to see you happy. If you guys get 1 million subscribers one day, I'm going to be clapping and so happy. I'm like, oh, I know
Yeah.
them. I'm so happy for them. That's the
Yeah.
mindset of a Bitcoiner. We want to see the world thrive. Everybody, not just us. It's not about it's about us.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I
That is
love
so.
I have really I'm new to the X community too, and I have just really loved how positive everyone is and uplifting and encouraging. Everyone's just awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I trusted Anthony because I knew he was being surrounded by positive people. There was never like a negative thing that I heard. I mean, he's like over here doing push-ups and, going on exercising and reading and all this stuff. And I'm like, what could I be mad or, frustrated about if like my husband's getting better, you know?
Absolutely.
And so it's really cool to see that community in the X community now that I've slowly started to dabble in there. But yeah, it's true. It's everyone wants everyone to win.
Hmm.
Because in the fiat world, we're fighting for our lives, really. It feels like you're, like, competing constantly, trying to climb the ladders, you're in a scarce mindset, you're all of those things, and what I've noticed and learned is that Bitcoin has become a place of hope, a place of, encouragement, a positive place, and it's just so opposite of what the fiat world
That
is, you
is
know?
so interesting what you said. Oh my God. So the fiat world has a scarce mindset, even though the bankster print fiat money out of thin air and they have infinite amounts of fiat. Yet Bitcoiners only there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoins. Yet we're so generous or the Bitcoin world is so hopeful and joyous and has a mind of abundance. You see, it's crazy how the opposites kind of
Yeah.
contrast each other. That's an epiphany you just gave me. Holy moly.
Yeah. It's
It's
crazy.
been eye-opening for me, and because we're all kinda trying to survive in this world. It is. If you don't have Bitcoin or you haven't learned about it, yeah, I'm like, "Where's our next?" We have to buy this, we have to pay our bills, we have to
Yeah.
survive, we have to do all these
Diapers.
things. Yeah, diapers,
Yeah.
Diapers.
period, like that alone. We've been in diaper world for
5
5
years.
years, 6 years.
Nice.
But
6 years, yeah.
yeah, so it's just been very eye-opening in my opinion to just see the um because we had Pastor Coin on last week and he was what's
I love
what am
him.
I Alan.
I love Alan.
And yeah, he's
Yeah.
awesome. And it was so great to kind of hear that perspective how Bitcoin is like really God's money, like how it is intended to be.
Mhm.
So I'm grateful that it aligns with our values and that's the most important thing that
Yeah.
we've tried to do as a couple.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love the way he contrasts. Sorry, go ahead. I love the
No,
way
no,
he
no, you're good.
contrasts
Keep going.
Bitcoin with
Yeah.
a godly worldview. Yeah, but Alan Armstrong, I've been following him forever now, and I his book is good. I haven't read it yet, but I that's one of the reads I want to do next.
Mhm.
Nice. That's so good. And then also like with yeah, Alan's great. And then also with like getting to one Bitcoin, like what is this even equivalent to? So like people who are like outsiders or new to the Bitcoin space and they're like, "Oh, I hear this. I got to get to one Bitcoin." Like what is that equivalent to? Like a beachfront property in the future? Is this like in you're in the 1%? Like what is this what would you compare it to? Yes.
That is a wonderful way to maybe grasp this concept. So it's like uh, fiat bankster fiat money can be printed into oblivion. This is why people are not hopeful nowadays because they have to have 3, 4 jobs, and yet they can't even make ends meet. They can't buy a house anymore. So they have that mindset of, nihilism. But Bitcoin, when you start buying Bitcoin in the first couple of years, you're like, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm having a serious, and then Bitcoin rage pumps, like it has a $10,000 candle. And then you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I need more of this. And then it goes down a little bit. And then the X community, the Bitcoin community says, calm down. It's okay. Just keep buying, hodling, hold it for 4 years. Anyone who's been hodling Bitcoin for at least 4 years is in profit. And so
Yeah.
that gives you that mentality of abundance, and then you start to see a world of hope and joy for the future. You're preparing yourself. It's like the opposite of sabotaging yourself, of making your future self go to jail or end up
Right.
with worse situations. But so you're preparing yourself for a great future. So I guess it would be akin to beachfront property. I mean, that's really great, but I think there's so much taxes with property. So I
Yep.
think it's more like Michael Saylor puts it. It's like buying a whole block of Manhattan real estate in the 1750s, and then
Yeah.
holding it for your whole family. Eventually, the entire world wants to buy property there. So for like a small block, it's hundreds of millions of dollars for Manhattan real estate. And that's the way it's going. It's going to be even more than that because the
Yeah.
banksters won't stop printing money out of thin air. And there will ever only be 21 million Bitcoin. That's it. That's all.
Yeah.
So if you buy one Bitcoin now, it's literally it's going to be worth infinite amounts of fiat because fiat in the end of the day is going to perish. Just like I like to remind people that every single empire that had a currency, eventually that currency fell because of money debasement, whether it's coin clipping, whether it's just printing money out of thin air, just like we're doing now in a fiat system, unbacked by anything. And now
Great.
the other nations of the globe are not even using the dollar to buy petroleum anymore. They're using other currencies, which is kind of scary, for Americans.
Yeah, yeah, I know, yeah, and just like recently, right, with the Strait of Hormuz, like they just like, hey, we want Bitcoin only for passage, right? And I know people who, like, if you're an outsider, right, and you watch the news and you're hearing this, like, things have to start kind of like turning for you. Like, I hear Bitcoin, I hear this stuff, I hear, Trump talked about it on his campaign. But now I'm hearing about it in a war where people are like, hey, if you want passage, right,
It's
and we want
spreading.
Bitcoin, it's like, dude, you have to like something has to tell you to like
Mhm.
get things moving. Like, hey, let me read a book. Let me listen to a podcast. Let me listen to an audio. Like something has to trigger you to like, man, like I need to figure out what this is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So many people are but Via has you running, in the rat race. Via has you like,
Yeah,
hey, figuring out like, hey, how am I gonna get my next meal? How am I gonna pay the rent? So it has you running in these cycles that you don't even know, you don't even have time to come up for air to be like, hey, what is this Bitcoin
Yeah.
thing? Right. And
Absolutely.
so
absolutely.
it's really interesting how everything is playing out and just seeing where things go.
Yeah.
It,
I
it
think
reminds me.
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it reminds me of somebody. This is not my idea, but I saw an X. You work 35 years, 40 years for something you don't understand. Sit down for 40, 35 minutes just to read about what you're working for, right? And then when you do that, you're like, "Oh, fiat is a complete Ponzi scheme with an actual leader. Bitcoin has no leader. It's the opposite of a Ponzi scheme."
Abundance.
It's wild. I mean, you have to really, even for me, the system is doing exactly what it's intended to do, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's with our school system, our money system, our, they've kind of trained us in a way to be distracted and to do these things a certain way. And so it doesn't give us the opportunity to really think for ourselves and allow us to really be critical thinkers anymore. And I think the world is constantly changing and I'm thankful for like the Gen Z generation that's like
Hmm.
really opening their eyes and
Yeah.
hopefully implementing themselves in spaces to be like, "Hey, this isn't working anymore. Like,
Yeah.
we can't do this anymore." So we really valued those conversations with some of the people community in X too, because I feel like we're, although we're a little bit older, we're not that far away, and so if they can create some change in that generation, oh my gosh, I feel like that'll even
Streamline.
streamline everything to the Bitcoin space for
Mhm,
sure.
mhm.
Yeah, that
That's
reminds me, like, the new generations are all digitally native. I think you're right. I think
Yes,
this new
exactly,
generation will be the
exactly.
one that's gonna usher as a great leap towards the Bitcoin world, a hyper Bitcoinized world. If you think about it, people are born, raised, educated, live online. They work online. The commerce is online.
Yep.
Relationships are now online. Like, I have no friends in real life. I'm making
Yeah,
friends now. This is where I have the fun.
I'm your
It's kind of
friend,
sad,
Gus.
but
we're
it's
your
We're
great.
your
friends.
friend, Gus.
Thank you. Finally, I have some friends. My daughter says, "You have no friends." Yeah, I'm working 3 jobs. I'm sorry,
I
But
know.
yeah, the new generations are all digitally native. They live online. They do everything online. They game
Yep,
online. Everything is done
yep,
online. So
yep.
I think, my mom found her husband online, and they have a beautiful life for 15 years now. I have a little sister, and I think it's going to be an obvious next step, like the
Yes.
internet. Some people create, but Paul, I forgot the name of that economist. He said the internet is going to be no as relevant as the fax machine. It's not going to have a big impact in the world.
Yeah.
Boy, was he wrong, right? Because
Yeah.
the internet is now in 7 billion devices worldwide. 7 billion people have access to the internet, and 6.5 billion have actually a smartphone that they can type and be connected to the rest of the world through social media. Everybody's
Yeah.
hearing about Bitcoin now. It's spreading. The bankster is done.
Exactly. Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's why I think too is like so then like when is a light bulb gonna go off for them, right? They like you said, they're digitally native. Everything in their life has been like online basically. And so then and if you think I think about this all the time right now, I'm like, our money is like so outdated. It's so dinosaur. It's so like, hey, close at 5 o'clock. Like, I think it's funny how like, well, everyone's at work, like, and then when they get out, it's closes. It's like
Yeah,
the time that
crazy.
they actually needed to be open, they're like, hey, we're closing too
Man.
for the weekend. Like, how does our money like not available 24/7, right? And Bitcoin fixes this. It fixes it. You have access for it, even with the stock market. I love how going back to the stock market, like if you just put a comparison, like well, like where the stock market's closed for the weekend, whenever it closes, and it's like, dude, Bitcoin's 24/7.
Yeah.
Your money should be 24/7. You want access to your money, you can go get it 24/7. In the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, like you should be like it's
Mm.
2026. What are we talking
Yeah.
about? Like this is like these are like 1906 principles, right? Like it's like what?
Yeah,
Like this is like
yeah,
horses, not even cars, right? This is like I don't know. It's just funny the way when you think about things and you just have to reflect. And I don't know if I'm just getting older. I reflect every day. I'm like I'm
yeah,
like
dude. It's
how
great.
everything is like calculated, right?
Yeah.
Who we hang out with, where we go, where we spend our money. Like everything is calculated. What do our kids listen to? What do they look at, And so I don't know, you just have to be more you have to be alert, right?
Yeah.
Awareness has to be on 1,000 and
Yeah.
then, figure it out.
Mhm. Do you feel like chasing 1 Bitcoin is realistic for most people? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're just, hearing like, "Oh my gosh, 71 Bitcoin is 74 or $75,000, right? Do you feel like that's, is chasing that 1 Bitcoin realistic for most people?
I think so. There's hope, especially in the West. I mean, if you live in like
Yes.
Mozambique, we have charities at church that we work with in Mozambique, and we're very grateful to be able to help them out. But if you live in Mozambique, like 1 Bitcoin is kind of hard for you. But in America, in Canada, in Australia, we live in the most prosperous nations in the history of human civilization. I think it is, if you have a full-time job where you're making at least $50,000 or more a year. I like to remind Americans that if you make 35 or $40,000 a year or more, you are the top 1% of the world.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's Bernie
Yes.
Sanders, the billionaires, the millionaires. It's like the
Yeah.
top 1%. But he fails to explain to the youth, you are the top 1%. If you're what do you call it, a barista at Starbucks and you're making 35, $40,000 a year, you
Mhm.
are literally the top one. So I think it
Mhm.
is, especially if you have like a part-time or a full-time gig and you can do a side hustle, like leaf blowing or snow blowing or
Yep.
landscaping. Every entrepreneur, almost every American that in our age now has a side gig of sorts. They have
Oh,
Yeah.
to, or
yeah.
else they
Yeah.
can't
Oh,
even
yeah.
make ends meet.
You have to. You
So
have to.
you absolutely have to. And I think if you're buying a million Satoshis every week or every month, you could realistically achieve a Bitcoin, but I think we're about to see some major explosive action on Bitcoin that I think once Bitcoin reaches, 300, $400,000, it's going to be tough, man. I remember when Bitcoin was $17,000 and I
Yeah.
did not buy enough. I think I stacked like 11 or 12 million sats. And now I look back, I'm like, what? Why didn't I buy more Bitcoin? Of course, everybody has that. I think it's
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And just to flip it now, right? So point 0.1 Bitcoin, right? So point you said you just shared with us, right? 1 Bitcoin is attainable still, living in the West, figuring things out, being a solution seeker, having a side hustle. Now on the other side, point 0.1, is that going to be enough in 5 to 10 years, right? Somebody's like, like you said, they come in here and they're like, "Oh my god, 75,000 is so much, but let me get to point 0.1 Bitcoin. Let me see what I can get." They get to point 0.1 Bitcoin and we're looking down now we're fast forward 5 to 10 years. Is that enough
Mm.
for them to retire or even like live comfortably? What would you say, Gus?
10 million Satoshis. 10.1 Bitcoin would be 10 million Satoshis. And I think 5 to 10 years, I don't think that would be enough to retire in 5 to 10 years, but it would be enough in 30 to 40 years for sure because fiat is heading where we think it's heading. It's not going to be around for much longer. I think in our lifetime, I don't know when, of course, but I think in our lifetime, fiat is going to perish. I think, and this is what Lynn Alden says, to legendary economist. Lynn Alden said that all of the there's 130 currencies worldwide. 60 currencies are dollarized. I think every other currency is going to collapse into the dollar and the yuan and the bigger kind of euro, the currencies that are most used worldwide. That those small ones are going to collapse, and then eventually the dollar. People are just going to start using Tether, and people are going to save in Bitcoin. They're going to start exchanging goods and services in Bitcoin, and I do think eventually the fiat dollar is going to be relevant because people are going to say, "Why am I using this?" I
Mm.
think there's always going to be government tokens around. Like you go to like an arcade, you have to buy their tokens because that's what the machine accept. But now you see Florida, Arkansas, and other states and other nation states worldwide accepting Bitcoin as a form of taxation. So at that point, I think maybe 10 million sats would be enough to retire in 30 to 40 years, but we could certainly aim for more. Like if you're an American, try to get half a Bitcoin. Even like point 0.5 would be excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, point 0.5 would be huge, right? What do you on that, since you're talking about that, like, 2 questions for you. So, would point 0.5 what does point 0.5 Bitcoin look like, right, to somebody? Is that retirement in 5 to 10 years? And then also to add on that, when do you realistically, because this is hard for me to grasp, and, realistically, like, see thing priced out in sats?
I don't know. I honestly,
Y
it's so hard to
yeah,
tell, because
yeah.
the dollar could collapse tomorrow. All world currencies could collapse tomorrow. Bitcoin could go to like what happened in Iran. What was it like a month or two ago? I think maybe 2 months ago in January when Bitcoin like went parabolic overnight in Iran. If somehow I could post this chart here, I'll post it in X. I'll clip this podcast later and post it with the picture on X. But basically, the Iranian rial completely dipped against Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin, I don't even remember anymore. What is it? 100 billion for a Bitcoin in Iranian reals. That's why they're mining Bitcoin for their strategic reserve for a couple of years now. And so I don't, I wish I could say, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, do you feel like, now I'm thinking about the younger generation too, and kids who are going through school. I even have some friends that have even just graduated, their siblings and stuff, and I'm thinking about them when they see kind of this shift happening in this world, and we're thankfully educating ourselves more, but I feel like where maybe you might feel the same, do you feel like people are getting discouraged when they see, what 1 Bitcoin costs, and then they just end up, "Forget it, I can't do this is too much." Like, do you see that ever, or have you ever, had conversations like that before?
That's a great point. sometimes even psychologically, part of me is like, "Oh, man, people are never gonna get to 1 Bitcoin." That's maybe 10 or 15% of my head, but then
Mhm.
there's the 80%, 85% that's really hopeful. I'm like, "Of course they can reach it. They can be entrepreneurs, they can start a junk removal business, they can, be buying a ton of sats every day." I think that people need to be, and when people study Bitcoin, they start to have that hope, work harder to achieve that goal of having a full Bitcoin. And yeah, what was the question again? I was going somewhere with that. It's super interesting question. I forgot. Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I was just kind of more of a conversational piece too, is more so I feel like the younger generation, being that they are growing up in this digital world where everything is so instantaneous, right? Things are so instant for them that they're like, oh, I can get my food delivered to me, I can get all this delivered. And we're in an age where we're like, let's just go pick it up. Like, we don't want to go and spend money on that, or whatever. And so when they see a number like 75,000 for one Bitcoin and they're learning about, investments and things like that, um, it's possible for them to feel discouraged,
Yeah.
to be able to get to that one Bitcoin.
I think deferred gratification or low time preference comes with wisdom, and I
Yeah.
think as you age, your prefrontal cortex finishes developing. You're like, oh, okay, life is like this, not like that. I think eventually, you know how we're young and our hormones are all over the place. I have a teenager, and she just sometimes has a hard time with emotions and stuff, just like every teenager. And I try to sit down and talk to her. Sometimes you have to let them kind of fall on their faces, unfortunately, and kind of learn from their past mistakes. I think that a discouragement will eventually fade as wisdom and experience comes in, and they see that they're building like point 0.2, point 0.3, point 0.4 Bitcoins. Now they have 40 million sats. I think that will be like, you know what? No, I can do it. I think it's up to the individual.
Yeah.
Maybe even like it's a biological trait that we have. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's like some people are just more driven, some more, energetic, I don't know, passionate maybe, and other people, maybe they're happy or content with not having, that much, but then they see other people being able to achieve point 0.8, 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoins. They're like, I can do it too, and that's the beauty of Bitcoin too. It drives you to have, entrepreneurship spirit, that when you study
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bitcoin, you're like, whoa, I want this, I need this. You start to
Yeah.
provide value for society, thus making you more productive and giving the
Mhm.
economy more value. Just growing the economy, helping it grow the country. Bitcoin, I feel like there's only benefits to it. I don't think there's any downsides at all.
Yeah, not that I've seen, for sure. I haven't seen any negative, even just with the people, like that's a main thing too. But I feel like it would be important also to kind of surround yourself with people who are learning outside of, the fiat system and learning about Bitcoin, to really help maybe even encourage those conversations or help them learn, right? Like I feel even for me, it took me kind of talking to Anthony more. And then we were talking about, I can't be the only person having these questions. We should probably start talking to other people and
Nice.
see where my mindset's at, where his mindset's at, and where other people's mindsets at. And
Mm.
that's really helped me develop as someone who's really wanting to understand it more and starting to understand it more. And surrounding myself in the community of X, like really getting to know people and certain terminologies, all that. Like, so that's all very encouraging. But you're right, the low time preference is a huge, huge thing that I
Mhm.
feel
It's
like
necessary.
it's a skill in
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
though, right? It's a life skill. It's not just a Bitcoin skill, it's a
Mm,
life skill. We talk about it all the time just with our own kids. Like you just because you want it doesn't mean you get it. You have to really earn it and work at it and, all those things. And it's probably because we're both athletes that we kind of have that mindset too.
nice.
You're not gonna be good at something right when you start. You have to really work at it. So yeah, I think that's such an interesting point that we were, kind of talking about, getting to that one Bitcoin. Even for me, when he was first telling me, it's like, oh yeah, I went up to 100,000, or I don't know, at one point it was
It's
like in the
going
hundreds.
it's going away from us.
I know. I was like, how are we supposed to get there? Like,
Uh,
gosh, this
we
whole
gotta get 3 jobs like
And this is what people don't realize, like,
Yeah.
Bitcoin dips, and then you have to this is why Bitcoiners say study Bitcoin, not necessarily buy Bitcoin, because, if you study Bitcoin, you'll see that it has 80% drops, 50% drops, 40, just like the one we had recently from
Mhm. Yeah.
$126,000 all the way down to 62, we made to
Yeah.
$60,000.
Yeah.
Didn't quite make to 58,000, but, you will have an opportunity, and
Yeah.
ultimately, like, dollar cost averaging, it's been proven in studies in, like, Ivy League universities like Cornell and Harvard, has been proven no matter what you invest in, if you buy
Mhm.
consistently just a
Exactly.
little bit with your surplus that you have every week or biweekly that you
Mhm.
get paid, just buy $50 here, $50 there. It doesn't matter if you're buying the S&P 500. Now, if you buy Bitcoin, that's what we encourage you to do, not financial advice, but if you buy Bitcoin, the KGAR is ridiculously, it has
Yeah.
explosive growth throughout the years.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to do that because the bankster cartels are not going to stop printing money. And the DCA strategy is time. It's the perfect strategy proven by so many people that have used it throughout history. And
Yeah.
eventually you will get there. You
Yeah.
absolutely will get there to your goal.
Yeah, and you don't even have to be, like, loaded. That's what's great about DCA, and, like, you just be like you said,
Mm,
you could be a barista. I don't even know that's how you say it. You could be a barista at Starbucks. You can be doing XYZ, construction worker, like, whatever it is, and just throw a little bit in there. Everybody has a little bit extra. Everybody has a little bit extra,
Mhm.
right? Don't buy that coffee, right? Don't go out for one dinner out of the month, right? You can just throw it in there, and then it's gonna just compound over time. And, that's what, and, like, DCAing is such a, I don't know, it's such a great thing for even if you start super young. Imagine what if you're an 18-year-old listening to this right now, and in 12 years when you're 30, that DCAing in 12 years is gonna be huge. It's gonna be light years.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, and you probably think like 30 so far away. No, 30 will be here, boom,
yes,
tomorrow,
sir.
right? And when you're 30, 40 is gonna be here tomorrow. And if you're listening to this, when you're about to graduate school, like if you're in high school, you're gonna graduate college tomorrow. If you're in
Yeah.
college, you're gonna if you just started college, you're gonna graduate tomorrow. If you're you're in college, you're gonna be married. You just graduated college, you're gonna be married tomorrow. Like, time is flying, and when we're younger, it's so easy to be like, oh man,
I
that's
have
a
time.
long time. I'll get, like, no,
Mhm.
you don't. Like,
Yeah.
so time's flying. But no, I love it. And so, like, get into one Bitcoin, it's such a huge milestone for people like you shared, guys. It's still very attainable. When we're talking about the dips, right? Like, studying Bitcoin, like when Bitcoin was over 100,000, I was one of those people in that camp where I was like, "Hey, it's never coming back down under 100,000." I'm like, dude, this is it. This is it.
That's natural. That's how people think. And it won't matter. Like, I bought, I think, 3 or 4 million sats for my business at 111,000. And I was cool with it when it went down because, and then I posted, I remember when it reached like 65, maybe, I posted, it won't matter if I bought at
Exactly.
111,000. It won't matter if I bought at 50,000 when it's at a million, when it's
Yeah.
a 10 million per Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that I dollar cost average with my business money, with my money, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna be able to see, of course, in the DCA historic price, my history of buying, the buying history, or whether you purchase in a River or Bitcoin Well
Mhm.
or Bitcoin or Strike, I'm going to be able to see those dollar costs. I even nowadays, I go back to my purchases back in 2021, 2022. I see all my
Yeah.
purchases, $50 here, $50 there. It wasn't much. I remember with $250 when I got in, you could buy
Yeah.
$250 could buy you a million sats. So with $500 could buy 2 million sats.
My
I was
goodness.
like, "Whoa, why didn't I buy more?" But then you're gonna look back the same way once it's 2030, 2032, and it flies by, like you said, it really flies by. It sounds
Goes
cliché because our parents used to tell us to us when we were little. You're just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, mom, whatever." But
Yeah.
then it's here. You're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's Friday already?" Holy moly, especially when you have kids, right? You're busy all the time.
Oh
And
my
so
Right.
god,
Yeah.
in 10
dude.
to 15 years, when Bitcoin is at 1.2, $1.5 million, you're like, it didn't matter that I bought 100,000 or 50,000. So just
Yeah.
buy it. Just buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Serious.
It's that compound effect. I don't know if you've ever read that book, Compound Effect, but it's little steps really compound into what you want it to become.
I want to
And
read
it's
it. What book is that? It sounds like I
Yeah.
would love it.
yeah, it's
Yep.
called The Compound Effect. I forget. Is it over
It's
there?
so good. It is so good. Yeah, it's right there. It's by Darren Hardy. It's really
Okay.
good, and it's a quick read too. It's not it's not like a huge thick book, like, it's not dense, it's a quick read, and it's super powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, it's a really great book.
Yeah, it just
I'm
talks about
writing
all
it
your
down.
yeah, all the small things you do daily
Yep,
compound into some
yep.
to be a greater outcome in the end.
Mhm. It's like
It's
a
For
it's I
sure.
would always say it's like a smaller version of, and quicker version of, like, Atomic Habits. That's a
oh,
good
yeah,
book. I don't know if
Atomic
you've ever read
Habits is a
Atomic.
good one.
It's almost like the same concept, just a little bit shorter, but it's really good
Yeah.
on that. And then, yeah, no, I love that.
I'm curious too what you feel about like the adoption process of, when we eventually get to that point of Bitcoin's maybe our currency or really starting to dive into our system. Like, do you feel like how can we start kind of incorporating that? Or will that be a few years from now where people are really like exchanging Bitcoin for goods, like how we have our own currency now? Like I'm just curious. I like to hear people's mindset around that.
I think it will be natural. Like one day I was working at the ambulance service, and my buddy said, "Hey, we're gonna get pizza. Everybody's gonna give $5. Do you have $5?" I'm like, "Oh man, I don't have any cash. I don't carry cash." And he's like, "Just Venmo me." I'm like, "What in the world is Venmo?" And then he helped me download it. Like 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes. I downloaded it, paid him $5 for the pizza. So it turns out I was the only one not using Venmo. My mom had Venmo. My wife had Venmo. My stepdad had Venmo. All my coworkers, I had no idea because I was, busy working all the time. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be like that. Bitcoin one day, nobody knows about it, even though it's now a household term pretty much. Everybody has heard about Bitcoin. Eventually, it will be a household term on a daily basis. Right now, maybe it's once a year mentioned, maybe once every 5 years, but eventually it's going to be daily household term that, yeah, eventually all of the merchants that now we have what 5 million merchants with Square from Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter, now formerly known as Twitter, now called X. 4 million merchants have been onboarded, but we don't even need that. If I acquire a service from you guys, I can just use some sats, spend with you guys, and pay you guys in sats. So there's already, you see PayPal, you see Venmo now. You can buy Bitcoin in Venmo and withdraw it to self custody. You used to not be able to do that because Bitcoin maximalists are loud and noisy.
Mhm.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. We're always telling them, hey, we want to self custody our Bitcoin, and they finally made that. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. Um, it's going to be a natural grassroots things. It's happening as we speak, and I have a very thing I feel strongly about is the Lawrence Lepard, a legendary
Yes, big fan.
investor. You know him. Yeah, he's just a great, wonderful, loving guy. He's not too far from me. He's like half hour from me. He
Nice.
gives the example of, like, the washing machine and the dryers. Though, you can make that example for any other, world revolutionizing, world-changing innovation like the fridge, airplane, flight, cars, motor vehicles, combustible engine. It takes, to go from 0 to 10% adoption, it takes, let's say it took 10 years to go from 0 to 10% adoption of the washer and dryer. It's gonna take the same amount of this time to go from 10 to 90%. So the S curve, the second part of the S curve is exponential. So right
Yeah.
now, if you look at the blockchain analysis, mempool, or if you look at a Glassnode, you
Mhm.
see so many wallets it's like it went like that. It's spiking. Eventually it's going to be parabolic because the whole world is going to start coming into this because of layer
Right.
twos and layer threes, like Cash App, like Venmo. People don't understand how important that is, like the new Clarity Act or the Genius Act. Those are all foundations for basically the government giving the green light. Not that we need it, but it's basically
Yeah,
important
no.
because when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. Like Brazil,
Yeah.
where my mom's from, they copy everything America does. The SEC, the FBI, Brazil copies everything America does because it works. And so
Mm.
when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. People are now saying, like in Pakistan, in Russia, in Brazil, they're all saying, okay, let's pass Bitcoin laws. You see, the states now in America, many of them have extremely
Mhm.
Bitcoin friendly laws that are already passed that are a constitutional right for you to have Bitcoin and transact in Bitcoin. It's only the beginning. Once people start getting to stable coins, that's just going to be an on-ramp into Bitcoin, and the worldwide people are going to talk more about it. And I think this is where you guys come in. I love it. I always say there's not enough Bitcoin podcasts. There is absolutely not enough. We need more Bitcoin podcasts.
Mhm.
I don't want to make a podcast because I feel like that's a big commitment, and I have my kids, and I
Yeah,
have
Yeah,
3
it
jobs.
is.
I
it
really can't.
is.
It
So I
is.
bless you guys. I really am so grateful for you guys, for people like you guys, Robin Sayir, Bram, from Bitcoin for Millennials. We need more, and eventually, when price skyrockets, people are going to be talking and googling it. They're going to come to you, and then you're going to get a ton of subscribers and followers. And this is
Mhm.
the content that matters because you're talking from people with all from all walks of life, and people are
Yeah.
listening. Man, it's happening as we
Yeah,
Yeah.
speak, in my opinion.
that's
No,
awesome,
that
yeah.
yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, we it was something that we just want like overall, like, educate Danielle a little bit more on it. And then also like, dude, we just need to help people, right? Like that's the thing. Like people are out there just like working 2 to 3 jobs, and or even working hard, right, at one job, you're working hard for less, like, they're like, you have like, how do you not feel it? How do you not question it? How do you not, like,
They
look for
feel
other
it.
answers,
But they
right?
haven't had the epiphany yet because, you see people getting in their cars and making those rants, they feel it in their bones. They're like, "What is this?" And this is why we're shouting from mountaintops, like you said, it's out of love. It's out of compassion and empathy for people. Absolutely, you're 100%
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
there's, like I've been also seeing, like, a lot lately, especially this year, a lot more videos of, like, Gen Zers. They're, like, in their car, and they're breaking down, and they're just like, "Dude, I'm working my butt off. I can't even pay for rent. I can't even do XYZ. Like, what's the whole purpose of living?" And it's like,
yeah,
it's so sad to see that and
that's
hear that because it's like, dude, like, that's not how life is. Like, it wasn't the way that in my vision, like, I don't think that way that God was intended, like, abundance, right? Like there's so much out there for everyone to win. You just have to see, you have to go get it. You have to feel it. You have to figure out you have to find the right vehicles for you, right? Bitcoin is that vehicle. And what's great about Bitcoin is like it's so simple. It is so simple. You just buy it and put it away. Right, you just buy it and put it away, and then you go live your life, right, and then you just let it do its thing because time waits for nobody. Time is gonna keep going. So
yeah,
before you know it, you're gonna be like, wow, I had like point 0.5, like now it's XYZ amount. Well, I had one Bitcoin, now it's like 1 million, or whatever it may be. Is and all you did was you still went to work every day, you still hung out with your family, you still hit the gym, right? You still spend time with your kids. Like this is where like Bitcoin will like let it do its thing. Let Bitcoin do the heavy lifting for you, right?
mhm,
And so it's just really gonna it's gonna be interesting to
yeah,
see where it is, right? In like 5 years from now, and just I don't know, just everything in general. Like, how do you not go into the grocery store and just see that things are like a $20 is buying you less, $100 is buying you less, and then like thinking like, man, let me put my thinking cap on and figure out how I can make my money work for me,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And this is why I love your podcast. I love just you guys because people ultimately they're going to get online and say, what is money? What is
Yeah,
going on? What is inflation? And then a Bitcoin podcast pops up and they're listening to these long forms. And you see like, now the kids, they love long form podcasts like these ones, an hour, 2 hours, they listen to throughout. And I think that the more Bitcoin podcasts there are from different niches and walks of life, like you guys come from like a family Christian perspective, people are going to go for that. Others
yeah,
like
mhm,
Robert Breedlove, that he's more of a like a working out kind of
yeah,
free entrepreneurship aesthetics. And there's other, Bitcoin for millennials and other brands like TFTC. People are going to be guided through the algorithm is going to do the work, but Bitcoin is going to, like you said, Bitcoin is so simple. If people just sit down, again, people work for 35, 40 years for something they don't understand. Just sit
yeah,
down, people, for 30 minutes, for 40
yep,
minutes. That's it, and see what money is, what is with where this come from, what backs it. Nothing backs it. Spoiler alert: it used to be backed by gold. 1 ounce was $1.
yeah,
$1 was 1 ounce of gold, and then Executive
mhm,
Order 6102 for the gold bugs out there. Gold's the best. No, because
yeah,
gold can be confiscated from you. Not only that, in every nation of the
yep,
world, it was confiscated from its citizens.
yep,
And in America, you think that never happened here? It happened.
yep,
Executive
yep,
Order 6102
mhm.
by, I
He was
forgot the
Teddy.
president.
I think it might have
Yes.
been Ted. I think it was Teddy.
Roosevelt, you're right,
Yep,
and so they just if you did not give your gold, it was a $10,000 fine, up to 10,000 and
mhm,
10 years in jail. That's
yep,
that's crazy for not being a
wow,
yep,
criminal, for owning gold, and of
yeah,
course, Then they broke the gold peg in 1971. Richard Nixon's like, all right, no more. And France was asking for their gold back. Italy was asking for their gold
Everybody.
back. Everybody. And you see, if there's a custodian. This is why the revolution of Bitcoin is that you are your custodian. You memorize 12 to 24 words. Boom, that's it. The Bitcoin ledger has, if you have your seed, you can unlock it, decide a transaction anytime you want. Donezo.
Yep. Yep. So, dude, that was so good, Gus. And just to kind of wrap things up, so one more thing too, adding to what you just shared right now, a lot of people don't even know that gold was confiscated back then, like the US did that, because those people are not even alive. If those people were alive today who had to give up their gold, they would be like, dude, you need to get Bitcoin right now. They'd be like, you need to buy
Yes,
Bitcoin. Son, daughter, you
absolutely.
need to buy Bitcoin. But nobody
Interesting.
was alive when that actually happened. So like no one's here to warn us and be like, yo, this is really bad what they're doing right now. We've seen this we've already seen this movie before. And so
That's interesting.
and then just to and then to and kind of wrap things up a little bit right now. So like in the future, like how important would you say like owning any Bitcoin would be then to end this podcast? Is
But
it
it's
important?
completely in a world where we're traveling, if you see like plane flight logs and the maps that you can see all the airplanes moving around the globe is merging. It's inevitable. Everybody's intermarrying and it's beautiful and migrating and learning each other's
Dude,
languages, having relationships across seas. Why would you risk losing all your assets? If back in the days, in a more somber perspective, if the Jewish people in 1930s Germany had Bitcoin available, they could leave with all their assets. They were lucky if they left with 2 or 5% of their assets. A little bit of gold, a little bit of silver. That's it. They were gone. Their houses are gone. They were like multi-millionaires at the time. Everything is gone. They just ran for their lives. Bitcoin, you can just wear flip-flops, man, and cross a desert if you have to, because
yep.
you have your entire wealth it memorized in your head, which is my case, but also stamp it in metal. So
Yep, exactly. Yep. I
Yeah.
agree.
So good.
Dude, well, thanks, Gus. Man, this has
thanks,
been
man.
so fun. I am so glad for you carving out time
Yeah.
and taking time to come out on our podcast, To the Moon with the Lunas. We really appreciate you and your content. I love watching you, just driving around to work or to Costco, wherever you're going,
Yeah.
just spitting facts too. I love that, man.
Yeah.
You always have great energy. So I was like, man, when I first saw, I was like, dude, we got to get Gus on here. We got to get Gus.
Thanks,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate
We're
that. If you guys are ever in this side of the country, let me know. I'll buy you guys a coffee, hang out a little bit, play with the kids. Thank you for having me. It
Dude,
oh,
really was a
that's
so
pleasure. It was
good.
fun.
that was awesome.
Yeah.
Where can people connect with you?
At Scavashini777 on X, Scavashini also on Instagram. So just at Scavashini777.
Nice. Can
Okay.
you spell that out for people just in case for our listeners?
Absolutely. Scavacini, Scavashini, at Scavashini777, or BTC Gus too. You can find me BTC Gus on Twitter X. I'm mostly an X. So
Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you again so much, Gus. And we look forward to connecting with you in the future.
thank you so much.
All right.
All right, Gus.
God bless, fam.